We're live
We're
for
live again.
try number 2. So,
Second time's a charm. And you
Chauncey,
sound great, by the way.
thank you. That is just what happens, right? This is what we have to fight through when we choose to leverage technology and be on social media, is just assuming that something's going to break and go wrong.
Right. Seriously. Like every time. So let's kind of get back in. So last time, guys, we started this at 10 o'clock, but we had some audio difficulties, but now we're back on. So a very, very important conversation that Kyle and I would like to have with you guys today about how to speak out on political, religious, social issues, more importantly, because right now, as we all know, the United States is figuratively and literally in some places on fire. And so how are you as a business owner able to express who you are, be an individual, chime in on some of these conversations without polarizing other people and making your audience, feel a certain type of way, right? And so I think that's something that we all struggle with in some capacity as business owners, is like, do I even say anything about this? If I do say something about it, like, how do I say it? And so Kyle and I have a lot of sidebar conversations about a lot of the social issues and things that have been going on, especially in the last couple of months. And we just thought that it was very important to kind of bring this topic and conversation to the masses, since we are constantly talking to entrepreneurs about what they're putting on social media, their content. And so what sparked this entire conversation.
Yeah, and I think, Chauncey, as a guy who teaches social media for a living, I've always told people, like, do your best to avoid religious conversation, political conversation. But as everything is unfolded over the last 7 days, you and I kind of started having the conversation. It's like, man, this is different. This isn't political. This isn't religious. This is life, right? And so that's kind of really what sparked this conversation. Are you now having issues on your side? I don't even know if Chauncey can hear me. And Chauncey's gone. Look at that, guys. This is unbelievable. The universe does not want us to have this conversation today. And so I'm going to keep going as if I'm a news anchor who has just lost his correspondent, and we're live. So there's really nothing I can do about it. So we're going to wait for Chauncey to jump back in here. But guys, here was really why, Chauncey reached out to me about doing this video. And as I thought more and more about it, my thoughts were this: all of our friends, all of the people that end up watching this on social media, you're not going to stop speaking about the things that you're passionate about. All right. So for us to try to say, yeah, you know what, guys, like, you shouldn't be talking about this stuff, that would be stupid on our part. And so what I thought about was, what if we could give you guys some tips on how to navigate these waters more effectively? Because here's what I can tell you. I am very outspoken about my faith and my love for Jesus. Chauncey is very outspoken about who she is and how she does business. Yet neither one of us really create enemies because of the way in which we navigate those waters. So I think we can speak to how to do this effectively and not let the emotion of the situation get the best of us, because we've all been guilty of that. So I want to give you guys some tips as Chauncey is working on getting back in here. Hopefully she is. And so, guys, here's tip number 1. And you guys feel free to give us your comments. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, put them in the comments and we'll talk about it. But guys, tip number 1 is get your emotions in check first. There have been so many times that I've wanted to post about something, and I want to do it in the heat of the moment because I'm frustrated, I'm mad, I'm angry, right? I'm full of emotion. And so that's when it just feels good to just mash your phone and get that post out there. And then later I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I let that get the best of me? And so what I've learned is, if you can get your emotions in check first, it's going to help you in a really big way. And so take a couple deep breaths, right? Take an hour to kind of get away, and then come back to the situation with more of a clear head. And you're naturally going to post something that will be received better than if you would have just done it in the moment. All right. Tip number 2 is type up your post and wait. Guys, I can't tell you, I got some in my eye. I can't tell you how many times Chauncey's texting me. Her Wi-Fi went off in her entire house. So I can't tell you guys how many times I've typed up something, and then I've read through it several times. I've prayed on it and really thought, is this, look, God, is this what you want me to post? And it's amazing how we get clarity in that moment if we will read through it several times and just kind of sit on it, instead of feeling like we've got to mash that post button really fast. So please practice this when you're talking about any of this stuff, but especially with what we've been going through as a country over the last few months, and in the last 7 days. The third tip is, let someone else read it before you post it. This is my wife for me. So I use her to read through. If I've got something that I'm unsure of, I'll let her read it. And guys, every time she either does one of two things. One, she goes, you can't post that. And I trust her, right? She is full of wisdom. She is full of discernment. So there have been so many things that I've chosen not to post because someone who I trust spoke against it. Oh, I think we've got Chauncey coming back in. Let's see. Are you back?
I'm back.
Yes. You know why I'm really glad you're back?
Why?
Because I was like, okay, here's just now a white dude by himself talking about social injustice, and I lost my friend. So you can speak to all of this so much better than me. So I'm so glad that you are back with me.
I'm back. My Wi-Fi in my whole house just, went out.
The universe just doesn't want this to go out to people today for whatever reason.
But the universe doesn't know us. It doesn't know who we are. They don't know us. We're going.
They don't know us. So, Chauncey, I'm on tip number 3.
Okay.
Which is, let someone else read it before you post it.
Right. Oh man.
Have you ever done that? Yes.
My husband is constantly having to proofread my crazy before I post it. And that's whether it's in an email, because I get a little crazy sometimes in my emails when they start with, first of all.
Oh no.
As per my last email, right?
Gosh.
And so definitely when you're talking about very emotional and heated issues, having somebody take a second look at it, just so that you understand how other people are going to receive the way that you typed it. And sometimes you don't even mean it that way, but just the tone of what we're typing sometimes comes off the wrong way. And to just get another set of eyes on it is so important. So yes, I would say this should probably be moved to number 1.
Number 1. Well, I am an exclamation point texter. and I do it because I'm excited. I want people to feel the excitement. Right. But there's been times where my wife has had to say, honey, people that don't know you, they might think you're yelling at them.
Right.
And I'm not a yeller, but it makes sense because not everybody that's going to watch it or read it has that personal relationship with me.
Right.
So I've got to think about those things. So I think that's a big deal. I think another great tip is number 4 is double check your clarity.
Right.
And here's what I mean by this. So about a month ago now, I put up a post in regards to like DFW kind of reopening with coronavirus, and you know, people that wanted to celebrate their freedom as Americans to like go do their thing, right? And what I was trying to say and what I actually said, I didn't think through from a clarity perspective,
Right.
and it kind of backfired on me. I still believed in what I said, but I gave people wiggle room to come to their own conclusion about what I meant.
Right.
And shame on me for leaving that gray area in the post.
Agreed. And
So,
I did see that post, and I saw some people get a little bit testy. And when you wrote it, and I saw it, and I thought, Kyle's getting a little on the edge here. Okay, Kyle. But yeah, no, absolutely. Making sure that what you're actually trying to say is like coming across the right way. And I have to check myself a lot with that. But making sure that there's some clarity in there, I think is so important because it's so easily lost when we're typing and we're not talking, which kind of goes to something else, which I don't know if it's on the list, but what I have found where I'm able to get my point across even better is instead of typing it, sometimes making a video about it. Because that tone and how that translates can make a huge difference. I can type it and I can say it, and you feel it two different ways.
Well, and another thing that I love about that didn't make my top 10 list, though it should have, is you might not speak with the same clarity that you could have if you got to like reread your post over and over again. But I think what's most important is that your tone will be understood.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I think you and I can both do a great job in video of, regardless of how we articulate our words, our tone is very receiving. And you know, I try not to say things that like act as if I'm like coming down on somebody.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
And you cannot address that in just words on a page.
No, you can't.
Because, right, most people, and this is we could almost chase this rabbit down a very deep dark hole if we wanted to. But you know what else we have a problem with just in general is most people are looking for reasons to be offended.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say that, like, literally the title of this discussion that we're having, we have in big, bold letters, "You're wrong," but underneath it, you have the underlying message of like why those are like the worst things that you can say on social media. But if someone just took a quick glance at it, like even just this talk, someone could find offense in the graphic that you created for this talk. And I think that is a huge deal. So no, I love that.
And that's why I made the graphic that way, right?
Right.
To prove the point of, if we don't really look into the details, we can stop at that first word that we're offended by, and we don't even listen to the rest of what somebody had to say because I already found how I can be offended, and so I'm just going to live there.
Right. And so quit looking to be offended.
And guys, that is why, if we can talk about this for a minute, right? You and I were talking about a clip from a pastor that I follow, Carl Lentz, who is in New York City, right? And he talked about, and guys, don't get offended, right? I'm about to say something, and y'all don't get offended. Work your hardest to not get offended. But he talked about, right, what's going on with the phrase Black Lives Matter. And he followed that up with saying, yes, guys, all lives matter. We get that. But when we use that phrase, we're lessening the power of what's actually going on right this second.
Absolutely.
Right? That we have brothers and sisters that are hurting, that are in pain, that are frustrated, that are pissed off because their entire life they've had to live a certain way that other people have not had to live so that they can feel safe. And so in this moment, right, Black Lives Matter. And it's a powerful, Carl Lentz is a way better communicator than me. But guys, there's so many, you might even be watching this video. And the moment you hear that phrase or see that hashtag, you just choose to get instantly offended.
Right.
Right. and you take it all the way to, you know, the group of Antifa, right? That are trying to do bad things and overshadow the true change that we as hopefully good people want to see happen. And
Right.
so, guys, we've got to choose. I'm learning in my older age. I always give people, Chauncey, I always give people the benefit of the doubt until you prove that to be wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. There's even been times that somebody's posted something on social media and my wife reads it and she's like, does that make you mad? And I go, no, because I'm assuming that they're not talking about me.
Right. Right.
Now they call me and tell me, hey, that was about you. Well, then, yeah, maybe I might get mad about it. But I just don't understand why people look for reasons to get pissed off.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree.
So
110%.
I'm off my soapbox for the next 30 seconds.
For the next 30.
That was bonus, guys. Y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even know y'all are going to get legit bonus content like that. But guys, here's number 5 is ask yourself before you post.
Yes.
Is this worth it?
Right.
And Chauncey, I'm not saying this as if the answer should always be no, because I don't think it is. Right. I think what's happened in the last 7 days, in my opinion, is 1,000,000% worth every post, every video that I've created, in my opinion. But you and I both have friends that, though they agree with us, have said nothing.
Absolutely.
And they have the right, in their opinion, to say it's just not worth it.
Right. Right.
And we can't change that. So that's a very simple question that I think people can be asking themselves.
And I actively ask that question, but even with my agents and everything that they do when they're getting ready to post a YouTube video, when they are getting ready to post things and that will rile feathers and ruffle feathers, I ask, why? And whatever backlash comes from this, is it worth it to you? And if it is, then do it. But if it's not, like, you just need to kind of, going back to like numbers 1 and 2, like, take a minute, take the emotion out of it, take a breather before you post anything, and then just make sure that it's worth it. So, and I think that all comes with clarity too. Like, where you're coming from and what the objective like really needs to be in the forefront. And that's kind of what I do. And so for me, I think all topics are worth it for me. What I have to hone in on ultimately is I like to, and the reason I don't typically have issues with things I post is because I'm not typically posting a particular perspective. I post things to create thought-provoking actions, right? I want you to think about it. And I want you to think about it from different perspectives. And I want you to do research. I just made a post the other day that, and our president made a tweet that said something about when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And a lot of people, and I'd known this from just like history, before they even started blasting it all over the news. I was like, hey, there was like a guy, I thought it was George Wallace, but it was someone else. I was like, somebody else said that. So I looked it up, and that's what I posted. I said, this guy in 1967 used this exact same quote as when our president just used this quote. And so whenever our present starts to really look like our not so far very dark past, then those are things that we maybe need to think about. And then I just left it at that. Right. I told people, go Google, a quick Google search will tell you everything you need to know about this reference. But so, it was worth it for me to post that because I didn't post what I thought either way about anything. But I simply made the statements and gave people something thought provoking to go and research and look up. So that's 100%. Something else. That's another way that I think is a strategy when talking about this stuff. Instead of just directly telling people what you think, just give them something to chew on.
Sure. And that segues into the next tip, which is you've got to be okay with losing opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you chose to post that, you easily could have had someone who is pro the president that assumed that you were being hateful towards him, whether you were or you weren't. And they're like, you know what? I really like Chauncey, but I just don't think that I'm going to work with her anymore. And at the end of the day, you probably didn't care.
Nope.
And so, I think this might be one of the most important tips, because I think we have to come to a place where we realize that, at least for me, and I think you're the same way, I care about raising people to be better. I care about influencing the behavior of people even more so than I care about just growing a great business.
Absolutely.
And I think
100% agree.
Like, I remember about a week ago when I was getting ready to post my first post that was pro Black Lives Matter and really throwing myself into the ring. I remember my wife going, like, honey, you've never really done this before. And so it was that moment of like, is this worth it? Because you can't go back.
No, absolutely you can't.
And this was one of the first things, whether we just call it a social issue, a religious issue, a political issue, whatever, this was really one of the first things that I just truly thought, man, I really don't care. I really don't care what somebody thinks about me. I don't care if it alters someone's opinion of me. This is worth my influence, putting something out there.
Well, and going to your exact words here with be okay with losing opportunities, for me and my mindset is I can't lose something I never had. Like, I can't lose anything that I never had. So if my opinion about something is going to make you not do business with me going forward, then I mean, I never had you to begin with, so I'm not losing much. So I think that's just another like perspective or thing that you can think about when going through that.
And I'm going to say something right now that will not be received well by some people. So I'm just prefacing, if you don't want to like me less, just everyone stop tuning out for a moment. If we cannot cordially talk to people that have different opinions than us, we are so incredibly ignorant.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I love you, you love me. But if we put everything out on paper, there's probably a ton of things that you and I don't perfectly align with.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean we can't still love each other all the way to the core.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to, I think, as a country, we've got to stop going, oh, you don't agree on that subject like I do? Well, then obviously, like, we can't go to lunch anymore.
Right.
It's just crazy that that's the world we've created. And the environment that a lot of people feel like they've got to be a part of.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Hey, address this. So a comment that we just got from a friend of mine. So she said, how do you suggest handling belligerent or degrading remarks?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Let's go.
I always try to hit back with facts, not opinions, and not with emotions, because I have found myself posting things and then people will come onto my post and make some crazy comment, and immediately I go to my first of all and I'm typing and I'm going crazy. But what I have found, people can't argue with facts, right? And so again, coming from so here's my background is in debate. I literally went to college on a debate and oratory scholarship. What debate taught me was how to look at all subjects, because what we had to do before we did competitions was look at a subject and you had to know, like actually know well the affirmative and the negative and be able to argue both sides. Because when we got to the competition, that was when you learned what side you were going to argue. I say that because I learned to argue as like an art form. Like it's an art form. And what I figured out is that when you stop arguing with emotion and you combat emotion with facts, it's kind of hard for them to, to argue with it. But furthermore, I mean, some of them, you can show them cold hard facts. Hell, right now we're literally talking a social issue that has set the country on fire. There is a long video of pretty well a whole situation of a man that you see die before your eyes. And there are still people that say, well, I need to see a little bit more of that video. I need to know the backstory on what happened here. So sometimes you can put facts and video in front of people and they still won't listen. They still won't believe it. right? And those people you can't do anything with. And so I think understanding fighting with facts, that will help. But sometimes you just got to let them go and ignore it, and move on.
And
You
I
can't
want
save
to,
everybody.
no, that's 100% true. And I want to add, I want to put on my pastor hat for a minute and add a little bit of scripture to this conversation, because in Proverbs it says, if your enemies are hungry, give them food to eat. If they're thirsty, give them water to drink. You will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. And so what I've learned is, Kara, for you asking this question, like Chauncey said, most people aren't looking to change. They're just looking to fight. They just want a reason to fight because they're emotionally hurt. And that's just what a lot of people know is fighting relieves that emotional tension. And so what I try to do is, man, when someone tries to come at me and I only give them love back, it makes them so mad.
I love that.
Because
I'm not as good as you.
My negative, it's not about being good, right? Honestly, like you could argue that what I'm doing is I'm hurting them even worse than you are.
Right.
Right? So because I'm refusing to give them what they want, which is when I say screw you, buddy, I have just validated their desire to fight, and now here we go. Like now we're scrapping for all to see. And that's what makes this even worse, guys, is I think where many of you screw yourself is not in what you choose to post. It's in the mud that you choose to sling in other people's posts or in your own comments.
Correct.
So, and that's one of the tips that we'll get to in a minute. But guys, you want to truly like make people mad that are trying to be hateful, just love them. Right? I mean, if you go look at my posts, you can see so many times where it's like, you know what, dude? Like we can totally disagree, but I still love you. And I'm sure when they read that, they're like, oh, freaking Kyle Draper. I hate that guy. Right? Because I'm not giving them what they want.
Right. Agreed.
So,
I love that.
So that's what I would say. So let's get, what were we? Oh yeah. So we were finishing up talking about being okay with losing opportunities.
Okay.
So the last thing I want to say about this, Chauncey, is there are people that I know that are extremely political and they show it on social media. I don't agree with that, but at the same time, there are other political people that are as passionate as them that will use them for business, right? So I think we have to make the decision to either kind of play the middle and kind of be Switzerland to some degree, which is what I try to do. Or if you're going to go all in, right? Go all in and just know that the only people that are going to like you are the other people that are all in the way you're all in.
Yes.
And you can technically still grow a successful business that way.
Absolutely.
So we live in America where we're allowed to make that choice for ourselves.
Yep. I like that.
Guys, number 7, and Chauncey kind of already spoke to this as we answered Kara's question, but stick to the facts. I think where a lot of this goes sideways is when we just sling opinions everywhere that are laced with frustration and anger. And then we give everybody the freedom to go, oh, we'll prove that.
Right.
And we can't. So we've already lost the argument because we can't prove it. And so we've got to be careful. Is there anything else you'd add to this?
No, but I mean, that is legitimately my entire strategy when dealing with people online. Just stick to the facts. Like you can't argue with facts. And if you argue with facts, then you're delusional and you're not worthy of my time to continue arguing. So have a good day.
100%.
So that's it. Stick to the facts.
And I love what Bryce said. I just put his comment up so you can see it. He said, you will not change someone's political mind on social media. Guys, you
just won't.
Here's what I believe. I believe that if we're going to ever have the ability to change someone's mind politically, if we're truly ever going to get through what we're going through in the last 7 days and provide our children with a better world than we currently live in, it's going to happen belly to belly.
Yes.
Right? Chauncey and I will only begin to sway the other one when we're spending time with each other,
right,
having legitimate conversations, right? The mudslinging that takes place on social media will never result in somebody going, you know what, Chauncey, you're right. I take back that I just said F you to you. I take that back because you're right. You absolutely changed my mind. That's never going to happen. So
like ever.
So you have to, and I'm not saying you, Chauncey, I'm saying you to people watching and us. If you truly care about making this world a better place, have those conversations with physical people, not just open-ended on social media. That's my opinion.
Agreed.
So stick to the facts. That was number 7. Number 8, Chauncey, why don't you just lead out with this one? Don't name call. Uh-oh. Oh, she's back. Hey, you're muted.
Hold on.
Oh, now I got you. I got you.
Hold on. All right, I'm back. Like, that was literally a robocall that came in and just like interrupted the whole thing.
Gosh dang it, robos.
This is my life. Potential spam. So don't name call. I mean, what else needs to be said about that? Just chill out, people. Just when you're discussing things, give people respect. Your opinions will not be respected unless you respect theirs. So just try to stay away from name calling. Sometimes I have not been the bigger person, and I have name called and I've been condescending. I tend to name call in a very clever way. I'll call a grown man little buddy, things like that.
Oh God.
Because it just grinds your gears.
That's a whole nother video on how to name call without obviously name calling.
But just stay respectful, because again, everything you're doing, people are seeing online, guys. And like through these last 7 days, I have seen some crazy get unleashed from some business people that I previously respected their businesses, but based on the way that they've conducted themselves in the comment sections and the name calling and dragging people through the mud on social media, like you do lose a little bit of respect for people. And so definitely like keeping it on the mature level here is very, very important.
Rashida is validating your little buddy.
I have a really bad habit of that. Whenever someone pisses me off, instead of like going off the rails.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, little buddy. Have a good day there, little buddy.
Well, I'm glad to know that in this point in our friendship, you've never said little buddy to me. So I'm thankful for that. But so where I'll tell you guys real quick where I messed up on this, when I did that coronavirus post about a month ago, I said, right, you are selfish if.
Yes.
And because I shouldn't have said that at all, but because I also didn't phrase what I was trying to say effectively, so many people on that post, right, what they came at me for was the use of that word. Nothing else. Right. Their only offense to my entire post, which I still think was a good post the way I intended it, was that I used the word selfish. And shame on me. And
you
I'll
inadvertently name called.
I did. And again, right, we also have to have the ability, like if we're going to put our big boy and big girl pants on when we post stuff like this, we better also keep our big boy and big girl pants on when we look at it after the fact and try to become better from it.
Agreed.
And so what I ended up doing, Chauncey, was like it was 2 weeks later and people were still commenting on that post. And so I deleted it.
Right.
Because I think I accomplished what I wanted it to accomplish in the moment, but I don't want it to linger. And 3 months from now, someone else looking at my profile happens to catch it and they get the wrong idea about me because I didn't mean it the way it came across to some people.
Right.
And so I deleted it. And so I think that's something else, for any of you, if you've posted something in the last 10 days, that if you're being honest, was a little bit too hate-laced or anger-laced, go back now and delete it, right? We're allowed to do that. And it wasn't because I was embarrassed by it or because I no longer stood by it. I just felt like it had accomplished what I wanted it to accomplish, and I didn't want that type of post to just live on forever.
Agreed.
So
I like that.
That's what I did. Number 9, guys, is, and we already talked about this a little bit, but guys, don't fight in the comments. Wars are not won in the comments of a social media post, right? That is not where social justice takes place. That is not how our world changes for the better. And so here's what I do personally. If someone says something just ridiculously over the top hateful, I'll just delete their comment without even acknowledging it.
Right.
Because again, I'm not going to go sling mud with them, which is what they want me to do. Other times, I will respond to people and I will say, thank you so much for your opinion. And even though we don't have the same opinion, I'm still glad that we're friends and I love you. And that makes them mad, so I'm kind of winning. And it also shows people like, man, look at how well Kyle handled that. For other people reading the post, it allows people to see who I am, what type of person I am, by the way I chose to respond to people.
Agreed. I mean, all of that was perfect. I have no more input for that. You won that one.
I won. Yeah, because you and I we're in a debate. We're debating. Oh, the other thing that I'll add, since I already won, I'll just continue on my winning ways, is there's a difference between reacting and responding.
Ooh.
Right? When we react, we're letting the moment get the best of us. Versus if we realize all this person is doing is giving their opinion to my opinion, right? They're not really doing anything that I didn't already just do. And so if I'll chill for a moment and respond instead of react, you're always going to end up feeling much better about what you choose to say than if you just let the moment get the best of you. So.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
I like that. Last one.
Don't react, respond.
Chauncey, is stay open-minded. Seek first to understand. This, guys, if I can just be honest, if I am really, really angry at one thing that I've watched happen over the last 7 days, it's all these white people that are choosing to lead with anger as opposed to go, have you thought for 1 second about what it's been like for your black friend to live their entire life? Like, for 1 second, have you even considered walking in their shoes, figuratively, before you just went, all lives matter, right? Like, it drives me up a wall. Because I don't agree with everything people post right away, but there's a lot of posts that if I give it a moment to breathe and I try to see their perspective,
there's some validity in it. Right. There is some validity in it. And I think that is, and that's something else that I think that we have a huge issue with just in general. So not even now just talking about posting on social media, but in general, I think that we've come to a point in society where you are either for something or against something. Everything is an exclusive concept, right? Like you can't say, I want police officers and law enforcement to be taken care of, and they have a very noble job, but I also want them held accountable for the things that they do wrong. And so when I say that, then people are, well, you just don't like police, like back the blue. Like, that's not what I said.
Right.
And so I think that there are people that, they support the protesting, but they're a little bit concerned about the direction that some of it has gone. So it doesn't mean that they don't support the cause, but they are, concerned about this. And I think from all sides, we're going to have to stay open-minded about each other's perspectives and talk about it and understand that just because someone is for or against something doesn't necessarily automatically mean that they are for or against
100%
would be considered the opposite.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and just the difference in, there are protesters and then there are looters.
Right.
Those are not the same people.
They're not.
Right. I was watching videos on Twitter yesterday of protesters blocking a CVS from looters.
Absolutely.
Right? I watched another video of black protesters catching white people writing, like spray painting on a
Like
Starbucks,
BLM.
and you can hear them saying, "Stop doing that. They're going to think it's us."
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think we've got to have enough wherewithal to go, this is not all like, so we can't just go protesting is bad because look at all the looting, when I believe that those are two very different things.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Right?
They really are.
Hey, let's talk about this for a second. So somebody said, Jackie, so she said, what do you do when people fight or argue within your comments with other people? So I'll tell you what I do, and then if you have anything, then, or if you have something, then you can go first.
I let them fight.
Okay, so then good, because I do not do that. I pride myself on being very encouraging and uplifting with my social media. And so if I've ever posted anything in the past that's just led to just hateful argument with other people, I will either delete the entire post, because I just don't want that to be associated with me, because I don't want anybody to think that because I'm condoning it by letting it happen, that I am in agreement with it, right? It's kind of the same thing with people saying, if you're being silent, you're supporting the oppressor, right? It's kind of, in my opinion, along those same lines. Or I'll comment and say, guys, I'm going to delete this post if you're going to use it to fight with each other, because that was not why I did this. Okay. And then if people keep going, I've unfriended people, I've blocked people, right? It is your social media. So do whatever the heck you want with it.
Right. And I tend to just kind of let them, when things get too nasty, I'll go in and I'll delete some of the nastier comments. But I typically leave the thread because something I'm very careful of, again, is I want everyone to kind of be heard, and I want them to feel like I hear them, right? Regardless of whether I think you're crazy or not. I still want you to feel like I hear you. And so I don't typically shut things down until they get like really ridiculously nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, they're grown people, so y'all can go at it, however you please. Just make sure that we're keeping it, halfway civil. So we have two different perspectives on that, but I don't think there's a right or wrong. But again, it's your page, so you do with it, whatever makes you feel comfortable and how you want to come across, to others.
Yeah, 100%. So that, guys, that was our 10 tips. What I would like to say quickly, and then, Chauncey, we can keep this conversation going about whatever we want. Guys, if you have things, other questions that you want to ask us, put them in the comments, and we're happy to talk about it. But Chauncey, I wanted to just say, while we have a large audience like we have, I've seen, myself and my wife included, white people asking, like, what can we do? Right? How can we help beyond just we post a post about it? Because that feels very feeble, even though I've gotten responses from a lot of Black people just beyond grateful for my willingness to even say anything. Absolutely. But I was listening to a friend of ours. She and I pastored together. Her name's Janae Wilborn, and she was talking the other day about something small that white people could do is buy your kids books with kids in the books that look differently than you do.
Right.
And so literally my wife got on Target. She bought several books. We read them to our 5-year-old last night before she went to bed. And I sat there watching my wife read this book to our daughter. And I thought, why haven't we always done this? Like this makes so much sense.
Yes.
When I'm watching it happen, because I want my kids to grow up not seeing color, right? Because we know that that's not the goal, but that she sees every color as equally as beautiful as every other color.
And that is exactly what you can do to help. I think right now we're at a pivotal point in our history, and just to kind of like teach your kids that there are different perspectives for a reason. This isn't a right now problem. right? And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at. And so something that I would employ my white friends to go and think about, and actually, like, just another thought-provoking thing is, my grandparents and my great-grandparents, our thoughts on law enforcement and the stories that have been passed down from my family about law enforcement come from a place of distrust, of terror, of fear, versus your experience and the stories that your family and grandparents have with law enforcement comes from a place of trust and endearment, and law enforcement being heroes. You have to understand that my grandparents, law enforcement literally helped terrorize them and help make their lives difficult. So naturally, the stories that are passed down and our perception of law enforcement and where it has come to me is totally different than what your experience is of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, although I understand that all law enforcement is not bad, like, I'm not stupid. You have to understand that, like, our immediate thought oftentimes is coming from the negative instead of the positive. And so then when you, and that goes for anything, right? That goes for, like, the racist that automatically thinks when they see a Black person, they come from the negative perspective. They think something negative, and then when something bad actually happens, then that solidifies, that's confirmation of their thoughts, right? And that's kind of where we are in the Black community. Is we're told over and over, and we see the videos of law enforcement sicking German shepherds on people not too long ago, right? And hosing them down for protesting. And then we have things that are happening now where people silently and peacefully protest, and then they're told that's wrong. And so I just say all of that to say, like genuinely stop and look at it from a different perspective. And I think if we all did that, we would learn to respect, and we could have more of these conversations
100%.
in a meaningful way, and teach your kids that, so that moving forward, like, maybe we can get rid of some of these issues. Like, definitely. And stop telling your kids don't see color. Like, just like, you see color. Just like if a little kid's in a wheelchair, your kid sees they're in a wheelchair. Like, yeah, little Timmy's the same as you. Yeah, he's got legs, but he's in a wheelchair. So if he needs help going up the ramp, you help his ass up the ramp, right?
Right.
So and so that's kind of all that at this point Black people are asking for, is like, we're in a wheelchair right now. Yeah, we all got legs, but right now we're trying to go up a ramp, and we're having a hard time getting up the ramp. And so just make sure that you're teaching your children, and you're coming from a perspective where, like, we don't need you to push us around for our whole life, but in these moments, shut up and stop telling us we got legs and we need to stand up and help us get up the ramp.
That's so good. That's so good. Because it's so easy to go, well, I didn't need a ramp. Like, it's so easy for that to be the reaction.
Right.
Well, that's crazy, Chauncey, because I didn't ever think that about police officers, right? So, like, that's how I feel like most people want to respond, as opposed to respond with nothing.
Right.
And just listen. And seek to understand. Somebody asked this, Chauncey, that was so good. Melanie Bennett Blanchard. She said, I didn't hear a response to whether or not to post about religion. So can I tackle this for a moment?
Sure. That's all you.
That's all me. Melanie, here's what I would say. I would first say that for me, as someone that loves Jesus, I would say that I don't follow religion because I'm all about my relationship. And so if you want to freely speak to your relationship with God, right, your personal experiences with him, how he's changed your life, 100%, I think you should do that all day. But what I don't want to see, and again, nobody has to listen to me, but what I don't want to see is where people begin to use the Bible as an aggressor to tell people how they should or shouldn't live their lives.
Correct.
Right? That's the problem that I have. And I think that's why I don't offend people, because I just say things like, man, I was praying the other night and God told me this. I didn't say something like, what? You don't pray? What's wrong with you? Right? Like, because that's not my opinion. And so if you're going to be religious in your speaking, just make sure you're speaking to your experience with it and not trying to push that experience on that other people are less than because they're not having the same experiences that you are. That's what I would say to that.
I think that is on point.
Okay, good.
Especially as a person that is not religious.
Yeah.
I receive everything that you say because you come from that perspective. There are some other people that I follow that are religious, and everything they say turns me off. Because
you want to start naming all those people?
I mean, I've had to like talk to some that, or even like that work with me where I'm like, it's cool. Like, I want you to be proud of what you do, but just understand that like the way that you're going about it and being combative with people about what they choose to do with their lives is not going to attract anyone to what you're doing. You're not attracting them to Christianity or, whatever it is. So no, I love that you do that. And you have actually, because of the way you approach that, you make it very easy for me to have these conversations and make it more appealing to me.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. A couple other comments. So Tammy said, have y'all watched Stephen Furtick and John Gray's sermon? That's what I was telling you about, Chauncey, before we started. Okay. So I have. It's incredible. If you haven't, go Google it. I'm going to share it on my Facebook later today as well. So y'all be looking for that. And I think this is Cedric Mills, Chauncey said, I heard someone say recently that the majority of white neighborhoods are protected while the majority of black neighborhoods are policed. I think that's where a lot of those thoughts come from.
Absolutely.
And so, guys, again, speaking as the white guy, I can't even begin to understand the pain and the frustration and the horror that even comes with this post, because I've never lived in a black neighborhood. I've only lived in the protected white neighborhood.
Right.
And so I choose to let this post from Cedric cause me to go, wow, man, I've never thought about it like that before. Instead of going, quit letting that be a crutch, like so many people want to say, which is complete crap. Right. And so come on, guys, like, let's be better. We all have the ability today, Monday, June 1st, to choose to be better. And so let's be better. Let me see. And Cedric, thanks for saying that, man. I really appreciate you. Let's see if anybody. Theron Smith said, come on, Chauncey, start calling people out. He also said, did y'all plan where Chauncey wears the hat instead of you today?
No, we didn't.
We did not. I just woke up and said, man, I'm having a good hair day today.
You are having good hair, and I'm having a horrible hair day, so I was like, hat.
Or I'm having a tall hair day today. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's definitely tall.
It's good. It's good.
All right. So I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover.
I think we have.
Guys, I want to end it like this, and then Chauncey, I want you to have the final word. I have been incredibly challenged in this last week to just really look inside myself, because I think everyone wants to naturally go, I'm not racist, right? Like, that's naturally what everyone wants to say, I think, or most people. And so I've been really looking inside of me with this thought in mind. If I could not speak, would my actions, would my friends, would my circle also say that about me?
Right.
And I challenge all of you to have that conversation with yourself. I have personally, right, I've been checking in on my friends that are black and just telling them that I love them. And as simple as that seems, Chauncey, I cannot tell you the response that I have gotten back from them with literally the words of, you have no idea how much it means to me that you would even notice. And it breaks my heart. And so, guys, let's please not let's not look at this as this has been something hundreds of years in the making. What can I do to change it? If you have that attitude, nothing will change. Right? The only way this gets better is if individuals like us choose to have an opinion, choose to speak out, but do it in love and with a true hope and belief that it's going to get better. And if enough of us do that, I believe we do have the opportunity to grow up and raise our children in a world where this looks different. But we've all got to play our part, and we can't just hope that it's going to get better. We can't pray this away. We've got to step up and take action. So that's my final word.
And I would say your final word is spot on. There is not a thing that I would change about it. Reach out to each other, and I would even say, you know, for my Black friends and family, like let's not forget our allies. Let's take care of our allies too. So reach out to your white friends as well that may be struggling and having an internalized struggle right now, and they want to ask a question, but they're scared to because they don't even know who to ask, right? So be that person for them, because a lot of times we tend to get, you know, very defensive, and the conversations can go south as well. And so be that person that your white friend also can say, hey, Chauncey, like I don't want to offend you, but I have a question about this. Like how does this make you feel? How can I make this better? And be open about those conversations and not think that they automatically know the answer about how we feel and what the plight is. And so I think it really is going to work from both sides. And if we all continue to contribute the way that we're supposed to, then I think we can get over this stuff for the next generation. So yeah, just love on people, y'all, because that's what we need right now.
Oh, and I said I was done, but I got one more thing.
What you got?
So I want to also say, guys, when you see, and this is for the white people, when you see racist behavior taking place, call it out.
Yep.
I had to call out a really good friend of mine on Saturday, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've had to do in a really long time. And I chose to call him out publicly because I thought it needed that, right? I've already had several people say, why didn't you just reach out to him privately? And I told him I wanted it to be on public display. I wanted people to see that I will not stand for this. And so I called it out. And I don't know how that's going to affect our friendship, right? But it was worth it.
Right.
Because what he was saying was so filled with hate. I had to stand up against it. So let's do our part in not just standing for people. Let's also do the really uncomfortable part, which is standing against the people that want to keep this hate going.
Absolutely.
Chauncey, I love you.
I love you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your friendship and for doing this video with me. Guys, we love you. And if y'all need anything for any reason, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yes.
We'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.